the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, preserving Canada's aviation legacy. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, CWHM, located in Mount Hope, Ontario, stands as one of Canada's most significant institutions dedicated to the preservation and celebration of the nation's military aviation history. Founded in 1972 by passionate aviation enthusiasts, the museum has grown from a single restored aircraft to a world-renowned collection that not only exhibits rare warplanes, but also keeps many of them flying. This living museum serves as both a historical archive and an immersive educational experience, helping Canadians understand their aviation legacy in peace and war. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum is located at 9282 Airport Road, Mount Hope, Ontario, situated at the Hamilton International Airport. The museum is easily accessible by car and public transit.
Canadians would man night fighters, fly photo missions, anti-submarine patrols, and bombing raids deep into Germany. But in the bitter days of 1940, there were no guarantees, no foreshadowings of the victory that was to come.
Hours of operation. The museum operates with the following schedule. Open Wednesday to Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Closed Monday and Tuesday. Please note that the museum is open on select holidays, including Victoria Day, Canada Day, Civic Holiday, Labor Day, and Remembrance Day. Parking and accessibility. Parking. Free parking is available in the museum's main lot. Accessibility. The museum is fully accessible to wheelchairs, with the exception of certain areas like the Fly Zone, TG Room, Radio Room, and Observation Deck, which are accessible by stairs only.
Hi, I'm Dennis James Bradley, founding member of the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. I absolutely love flying and I love aircraft. I'm really tall and was too tall for the RCF. In fact, until when I was 24, I got a private pilot license instead. And my flying journey began. I studied at the University of Western Ontario and was great at
Hi there, I'm Pilot Officer Gordon Brownlow. I really wanted to become an RCAF pilot, but that didn't quite work out as planned. So I became a navigator, which turned out to be both challenging and rewarding. Early in the Second World War, I became interested in joining the Army. I had taken a straight path in my enlistment training, and my service as a navigator on the Bomber Squadron had its twists and turns as well.
Origins and founding of the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, CWHM, stands today as a proud custodian of Canada's military aviation legacy, preserving and flying some of the most iconic aircraft from the Second World War and beyond. But the museum's origins trace back to a time when the historic warplanes that had defended Canada and the Allies were rapidly disappearing. The story of the museum's founding is one of passion, perseverance, and community, driven by a small group of dedicated enthusiasts who recognized the importance of preserving living history for future generations. The spark of an idea. In the early 1970s, the landscape of Canadian military aviation preservation was sparse. Many Woodoo-2 aircraft were being scrapped, stored indefinitely in poor conditions, or relegated to static displays with little public engagement. A handful of Hamilton area pilots and aviation fans began to see this as a loss not only of machinery, but of the stories and spirit attached to these warbirds. Among these individuals were Dennis Bradley, Alan Ness, Peter Matthews, and John Weir. They shared a vision to create a museum not limited to static exhibits, but one where historic aircraft could be restored to flying condition and operated. They wanted Canadians to experience these planes as living machines, hearing their engines roar and watching them fly as a way to connect more viscerally with history. Their first target was the Fairey Firefly, a British naval fighter that was used by the Royal Canadian Navy during World War II, but was fast becoming rare in North America. The group located a Firefly in Georgia, USA, and pooled their resources to purchase and transport it back to Hamilton. This initial acquisition would become the foundation of the museum's collection and symbolize their mission. From restoration to reality. The Firefly was in poor condition when the team acquired it. Restoring the aircraft required a massive volunteer effort from mechanics, engineers, and retired aircrew. This labor of love extended beyond mere mechanical work. It was a deeply personal project to revive an important piece of Canadian aviation history. After months of painstaking restoration, the Firefly successfully flew again in 1972, marking a major milestone. Recognizing the need for a formal organizational structure, the founders incorporated the Canadian Warplane Heritage Foundation as a nonprofit entity in 1973. This step allowed them to solicit donations, manage funds, and build a membership base that would support the museum's growing activities. The choice of Hamilton Airport, now John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport, as the museum's base was strategic and symbolic. Hamilton had a rich aviation history, including its role as a training base during the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, BKP, in World War II. The airport offered ample space for hangars and airfield operations, enabling the museum to restore and fly aircraft on site. The founders secured space in existing airport hangars and began accumulating additional aircraft. These included iconic trainers like the North American Harvard and the de Havilland Tiger Moth, both essential to pilot training programs during the war. Over time, the collection grew to include various fighter planes, bombers, and support aircraft, reflecting Canada's broad aviation heritage. Aircraft collection at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in Mount Hope, Ontario, is home to one of the most comprehensive and actively maintained collections of military aircraft in Canada, offering a living tribute to the men and women who served in the Royal Canadian Air Force and other allied air services, with more than 40 historic aircraft on display, many of which are still airworthy and flown regularly during special events, air shows, and flight experiences. This remarkable collection spans the evolution of military aviation from the 1930s to the present, showcasing trainers, fighters, bombers, transports, and maritime patrol aircraft that once served in various capacities throughout Canada's aviation history. At the heart of the collection is the legendary Avro Lancaster Memcac X, one of only 2 airworthy Lancasters in the world, which was restored to flying condition by museum volunteers over several years and now serves as a symbol of Canada's contributions to the Allied bomber campaign in World War II. Alongside the Lancaster are other significant World War II aircraft, such as the North American B-25 Mitchell, a twin-engine medium bomber that served in both European and Pacific theaters, and the Douglas C-47 Dakota, known for its critical role in airborne troop deployments and logistics. These bombers and transports are complemented by an impressive collection of training aircraft, including the de Havilland Tiger Moth, Fleet Finch, and Fairchild Cornell, all of which were used in the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, BCATP, to prepare thousands of pilots during the war. The museum also houses the North American Harvard Mk4, a more advanced trainer used to transition pilots to high-performance aircraft, and which remains one of the most iconic training aircraft ever flown by the RCAF. Another unique gem is the Fleet Fort, the only surviving example of a Canadian-built intermediate trainer designed during the war. The museum preserves a number of post-war aircraft as well, including Cold War-era jets such as the Canadair CT-133 Silver Star, a Canadian-built version of the Lockheed T-33, which served as a jet trainer for decades, the Canadair Sabre, used by the RCAF in NATO roles, and the Avro Canada CF-100 Canuck, an all-weather interceptor designed and built in Canada. The museum's collection further includes aircraft like the Beechcraft Expediter, Avro Anson, and Nordine Norseman, which filled various transport, patrol, and bushplane roles throughout the 1940s and 1950s. Notably, the consolidated PBY-5A Canso, an amphibious patrol bomber used in anti-submarine warfare, remains one of the largest aircraft in the collection and is still operational. Maritime and naval aviation is represented by the Fairey Firefly, a British-designed carrier-based aircraft, and the Grumman TBM Avenger, a torpedo bomber used by the Royal Canadian Navy. For those interested in modern jet fighters, the museum displays several Cold War and post-war examples, including the CF-101 Voodoo, CF-104 Starfighter, and CF-5 Freedom Fighter, as well as the de Havilland Vampire, one of the first jet aircraft flown by the RCAF. Also on display are rarities like the Canadair CT-114 Tudor, the jet used by the Snowbirds aerobatic team, and the De Havilland Canada DHC-5 Buffalo, which served in transport and search and rescue roles. The museum also owns the Auster AOP Mac 6, a British artillery spotting aircraft, and the Stinson 10A, both reflecting Canada's varied support roles in aviation. In recent years, the museum has acquired additional aircraft for restoration and static display, including a Supermarine Spitfire Mech 6, which will eventually become airworthy, and several non-Canadian aircraft like the Nanchang CJ-6A, reflecting the broader context of global aviation history. Many of the aircraft are not only maintained to display condition, but are also kept in flying condition, making the museum one of the few in the world that operates such a large percentage of its collection. Aircraft like the Lancaster, Harvard, Dakota, and Stearman participate in public flight experiences and air shows, allowing visitors to see, hear, and feel these machines in motion. The dedication of the museum's restoration team, made up of professional technicians, former military engineers, and skilled volunteers, ensures that even aging and rare airframes are carefully preserved or returned to operational status using original parts, custom fabricated components, and painstaking attention to historical detail. The museum also suffered a major fire in 1993 that destroyed several irreplaceable aircraft, including an original Hurricane, but has since rebuilt its fleet stronger than ever, continually acquiring, restoring, and showcasing machines that reflect the full breadth of Canada's military aviation past. Through its aircraft collection, the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum not only preserves technology, but also tells the stories of pilots, crews, and the missions they flew. From training fields in Ontario to the skies over Europe, Korea, and the Cold War front lines, making it one of the most dynamic and historically rich aviation institutions in North America. Flight experiences at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum offers a rare and exhilarating opportunity for visitors to experience history in motion through its acclaimed Flight Experiences program, which allows guests to fly aboard real, restored vintage military aircraft. Unlike conventional museums that showcase aircraft as static exhibits, this living museum maintains many of its planes in airworthy condition, embodying a unique philosophy that history is best preserved not just in artifacts, but in the dynamic experience of flight itself. Through this immersive program, participants can book flights in a variety of historic aircraft, including iconic warbirds like the Avro Lancaster, one of only 2 still flying in the world, as well as the North American B-25 Mitchell, Douglas Dakota, and classic trainers like the Harvard, Tiger Moth, and Chipmunk. These aircraft served Canada during World War II and the Cold War, and flying in them is both a thrill and a deeply emotional tribute to the men and women who trained, served, and fought in them. Each flight is a carefully curated historical journey, complete with pre-flight briefings, safety checks, and insights from experienced pilots who often have military or commercial aviation backgrounds. Passengers are required to meet certain age and physical requirements, and many fly in honor of relatives who served in Canada's armed forces, making the experience personal as well as historical. The sensory impact of flying in these aircraft, the roar of engines, the smell of oil and metal, the tight spaces, and vintage instrumentation, offers an unmatched level of authenticity that connects participants to a bygone era. The Avro Lancaster in particular is a highlight, With its powerful engines and unique place in Canada's wartime legacy, it offers an unforgettable hour-long flight that includes a tour of its interior gunner positions, bombardier stations, and crew areas, allowing passengers to understand firsthand the conditions of long bombing missions during World War II. For those who prefer a lighter, more agile ride, flights in open cockpit biplanes like the Tiger Moth or Stearman offer a completely different thrill, reminiscent of the early days of flight training under the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. In addition to real-world flight, the museum offers high-quality flight simulators using VR technology for visitors unable or unwilling to fly in actual aircraft. These experiences not only foster appreciation for aviation history, but also directly support the museum's restoration and education efforts. Each ticket purchased helps maintain the aircraft and keep them flying for future generations. Ultimately, the flight experiences at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum do more than offer scenic views or adrenaline rushes. They invite participants to literally step into the past, honoring the legacy of Canadian aviation and ensuring that these powerful machines and the stories they carry continue to soar above the skies. Visiting the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum is a deeply enriching and inspiring experience that connects visitors to Canada's proud aviation legacy through an extraordinary collection of historical aircraft, many of which still fly today. Located in Mount Hope, Ontario, the museum offers more than static displays. It provides a living, breathing tribute to the courage, innovation, and sacrifice of those who served in Canada's Air Forces. From the awe-inspiring roar of the Avro Lancaster in flight to the immersive exhibits detailing Canada's role in global conflicts, the museum blends education, preservation, and emotion in a way that resonates with all generations. Whether you are an aviation enthusiast, a history buff, or a family looking for a meaningful day out, the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum offers a unique journey through time that honors the past while inspiring the future. It's not just a museum, it's a moving experience that celebrates Canadian identity, resilience, and the enduring spirit of flight. Gift Shop offers a unique and memorable shopping experience that complements the museum's aviation displays. The shop features a wide range of items, including aviation-themed clothing, model aircraft, books, posters, and souvenirs inspired by the museum's historic collection. Popular items include Lancaster bomber t-shirts, RCF patches, and flight experience gift vouchers. The shop caters to all ages, with educational toys for children and collectible memorabilia for enthusiasts. All proceeds support the museum's restoration and educational efforts, making each purchase both meaningful and a lasting tribute to Canada's aviation history.